Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome back into another One Piece prediction video. Today, we are here to take a couple of stabs and jabs at chapter 1181. And of course, I always gotta say this because some people take it way too damn seriously. This is all just for fun. You know, I want to talk about what could happen in the next chapter. I'm here to get things right. I'm here to get things wrong. It is all for the engagement. We're here to have a discussion about our favorite series, man. So, with that being said, before we get right into 1181 predictions, I always do like to take a step back and look at our prior predictions and see how close dash on the mark we were. So, because it was a break week, I did bring in my friend Vision to help do some of these predictions as well. And of course, he is going to be the brown color predictions while I am going to be the yellow one. His first prediction for 1180 was that Imu would give a speech like Madara or Dofi or any iconic villain in anime. And Imu, surprisingly enough, wasn't that talkative. You know, he was mainly just super efficient because he knows that his time is limited. So, of course, this does get a big old X right over it. Next up, Par thought that Yarl would die a really quick death. Like, he would walk over to the village and just instantly kill him. But of course, that didn't happen either. Could Yarl die in this arc? Yeah. If we had to rip off the band-aid and kill somebody in Elbaf, I wouldn't mind it being Yarl, right? He is super old. His partner, Yarl, is already dead. And I just feel like we need that sword back. You know, that sword that is in his head is a legendary blade, according to him and King Harold. So if he were to die, we could get that sword and give it to another big character, whether it's Loki, whether it's Hyrutin, or just somebody else in general. I think we need to utilize that blade. But maybe I'm just kind of too hung up on it, right? So yeah, Yarl dying a quick death did not happen in 1180. Next up, Par thought that the kids would be kidnapped, and surprisingly enough, this didn't happen. And I say surprising because we see in that chapter that Saint Somers got back up, he got buffed, and then he blasted off into outer space. Where is he going? We honestly don't know. You know, last we heard, the prerogative was to get Elbaf under the WG's thumb. And their way of doing that was to kidnap kids. The kids are in the Western Village. If Saint Somers was going to kidnap the kids, he kind of just bounced out of that area. Unless the kids are being held like in a different building, maybe that's it. But last we saw, Chopper, the kids, and the Giants, they were all in just one specific area, and they left. So what is Saint Somers doing? What is the new mission? I have no idea. So next up, Par thought that Imu would have a Domi Reversi domain. And this might sound crazy, but I kind of want to give this to Par. And of course, it is because when Imu left the Western Village, we saw that the houses that came to life actually unanimated. The monster houses turned into normal houses yet again. So that does kind of work like a domain. Like Imu's drums of oppression, his monstrification only works in close vicinity to him. So I do think that counts as a Domi Reversi domain. Of course, depending on how you interpret this, you could say that this didn't happen, and I think that's totally fair. So now for Par's final prediction, he thought that the Holy Knights would still be captive because Imu doesn't care about them. But I, on the opposite end, I wanted to fight back against that one, and I thought that the God Knights would get freed because Imu does care about his boys to an extent. I'm not saying he's like butt buddies or Nakama, but he does want them to survive. So Par got that one wrong, and I walked away with a big fat W. So my first prediction outside of that was that Imu would have a magic snake blast. I don't know why. This was a 1000% shot in the dark, but I was like, okay, if we're going down the sinful route, snakes and sin are just hand in hand, and we know that Imu does utilize magic to an extent, so I thought a magic blast would be really damn cool. But he does not have snake magical blasts. Instead, he has demonic hellfire flames. Next up, I thought that Imu's music would be mentioned, like, hey, what is that noise? What's with that drum beat? What's with that rhythm? But surprise, surprise, actually nobody mentioned the music. Next up, I thought that Imu's monsters would have special abilities, aka the houses that got demonified, but they were kind of just set pieces. We actually didn't really see the houses fight at all. If anything, they were just there to cheer on Imu and the God Knights. Those houses, man, they were... I wouldn't call them a letdown because nobody was expecting anything much from them, but they're just set pieces, brother. They're just set pieces. And now for my last one, I thought that Emu would one-shot a named character. Funny, I did mention Zoro as a potential character that could get one-shotted, but I dialed it back. You know, I was like, oh yeah, of course Zoro is nearby, but surely he puts up a decent struggle before he goes down. No. Zoro, Sanji, Gerd, Stanson, Hyruden, Emu is one-shotting a lot of people. He really is. So I did get this one right. So there we have it. We got 3 out of 10 predictions correct. Not good, not bad, pretty in the middle. So now it is time to move on to our 1181 predictions. And I do have a good old list pulled up here on the side. So if I look over here, just know that I'm looking at my list. All right, so for my first prediction, I do think that we will get a Gunko update. Upday is what I spelled. Pretend the Y is a T for a second. Boom! Fixed, yes. We saw that Emu did send a Maki blast her direction. Did it thaw the ice? Was he trying to kill her? We don't really know. But Gunko is special because Emu stuck around and gave Killingham and St. Somers Maki, whereas for Gunko, he didn't really do that at all. He kept on flying past her. So because her status is currently up in the air, I do think that we will get an update for her. Maybe she comes to us, which I think will be really big if so, because we gotta remember, while Emu is currently facing off against Loki right now, there are a lot of characters nearby. Jinbei is nearby, Killingham is still nearby, Frankie's nearby, Nami's nearby, Luffy's nearby, as well as Brook and Usopp. If Gunko makes your way over to Emu-sama, boom, Brook is right there, and we could get a really nice Princess Shuri-Brook backstory. So yes, I do think the Gunko update is well needed. And of course, you know, we've all been following One Piece for a long time. Oda typically does like to break up chapters by showing multiple characters. He likes to progress the plot forward from a lot of different angles. So this sounds quite reasonable, in my opinion. So next up, I think that we will see, how do I want to put this? The difference. The diff of God Knights. This is a weird way to put it, but I do think when it comes to Killingham and St. Somers, we will see what the Maki buff actually gives them. We're going to see some characters say, wow, Somers is a lot stronger than a minute ago, or ooh, these thorns hurt extra hard today, or ooh, Killingham, we can't seem to put him down as easily as last time. I think that's what we're going to get. We're going to learn firsthand how strong the Maki demonic aura omen buff actually is. And of course, alongside this, you could also say that we're going to see where St. Somers is going. Somers update. Let's just put that on the side. Yeah, Somers update dash the difference of the God Knights. Okay, this is way too long. There we go. Boom. And it is centered? Centered. Beautiful. So for the next big prediction I got, I think that Killingham will fight again. Of course, is this too redundant? The difference of the God Knights, Somers update, Killingham will fight again. Let's get specific. Killingham will fight Jinbei. Oh, no, okay. How about this? I stopped myself right there because Jinbei and Frankie are right next to him, so of course he's going to fight them anyways, so that wouldn't make a difference. Let's put Killingham wins. How about that? Killingham beats Jinbei and Frankie. I know, this is kind of crazy, but considering how fast Oda is moving, considering how strong the Maki buff could be, maybe he outright beats them next chapter. Next up, for my fourth prediction, back to Emu and Loki, I think that we are going to learn about Nidhogg's potential. Yes. Emu didn't really talk much at the Western Village, minus asking where's the king, but now that he's confronting Loki, now that he is fighting Nidhogg, I think he's going to mention something about the OG Devil Fruit user, or even maybe just the war god in general. I think we're going to learn that Loki has a long ways to go. And alongside this, one example, maybe we get a mention of a new Heim attack. How do I want to put this? New Heim attack. He has Niflheim, he has Thunderheim. I think we're going to learn about a new Heim. Maybe Emu mentions it, maybe Loki even just straight up does it, but I think we are in store for a brand new attack from the GOAT. So next up, I do think that someone will help Loki. And yep, that is right. I do think that somebody will come in to assist the Prince of Elbaf, whether it's somebody nearby already, like perhaps Luffy, maybe it's Usopp, maybe it's Nami, or maybe somebody comes from the Western Village, like Yarul, or his brother Hiruden. I think that someone will assist him. I do think that Emu is just that strong of an opponent that even somebody like Loki will not be able to beat him in a 1v1, which I think a lot of people kind of fall in line with, right? We've seen how strong Emu is. I think realistically, everybody is like, okay, Loki, the fight's not ending here. This is just the beginning of Emu's onslaught. So, my final prediction, because of course the bottom row will be from the comment section, this might be a hot take, but I do not think we're going to get Luffy fighting. He might show up at the very end, but I don't think that Luffy's going to start fighting right away. I think it's because of Emu's significance to Elbaf. With how ingrained Emu is into King Harold's backstory, I just feel like we're going to get a lot of fighting there before Luffy shows up. Like, again, Hiruden, Yarul, maybe Usopp shows off his Brave Warrior of the Sea skills. I do think that Oda will save Luffy for the grand finale. Or again, he could just show up, after Loki's done. So now, on to the bottom row predictions. Of course, again, I pulled these from the comment section of the previous video. The first one says that Emu attacks Loki and he drops Ragnir. So this is very specific, but I do think it is interesting. Loki being separated from Ragnir, I do not think is a bad idea. And, I feel like a lot of people are getting sick of these theories, but if you are a believer that Usopp will wield Ragnir, this kind of has to happen. So Loki dropping Ragnir, I do not think is awful. And of course, Emu's attacks are probably going to be so potent that this just happens anyways. Even if Usopp doesn't pick it up, we probably will see Loki drop his hammer. And of course, we don't know what hybrid form Loki's going to be like yet, so perhaps he needs to drop Ragnir whenever he transforms. So now, on to the next prediction I picked up from the comment section, and I like this one, mainly because it reintroduces something that I think a lot of people have stopped talking about, which makes sense because it has been a while since it's been introduced, but Emu could mention Loki's eyes. Dude, Loki's eyes, they're still an anomaly, right? We don't know where they came from. We don't know if they have any powers lingering within them. We have no idea what the hell is going on with them. So perhaps Emu will mention something about Loki's eyesight. I think that would be pretty damn cool. Like maybe he says, 900 years ago, there was another one of you guys that had those exact same eyes. Oh, those are the eyes of the previous war god of Elbaf. Yes, I think we could get some lore if Emu turns out to be a chatty Cathy. So this one was kind of tied in with the secondary theory, and I'm not the biggest fan of this, but they also said that Luffy gets kidnapped. Yeah, I don't know, man. I can't see Luffy getting kidnapped. I feel like if Emu gets the chance, he'd probably just want to kill him, right? You got Nika in your grasp. You don't simply bring him back to the Holy Land. No. You cut his head off. But again, that's my own personal opinion, but they did add that in too. And now for the final comment section prediction, they said that we would get Loki's hybrid form. And I do agree with this. I think that we are definitely going to need his hybrid form to fight Emu efficiently. Will it make him bigger? Will it make him smaller? Will he stay the same size? I do wonder that a good amount. But either way, I do think that he'll have to whip out all the bells and whistle if he wants to beat the king of the world. They also tied this in with another one. They also said that Luffy would join the battle, which is kind of funny, kind of the opposite of what I mentioned up here. But of course, that's what we're here for, right? We're here for differing opinions, and that's what the game is all about. So now it's time to go through all of these predictions that we just made and give them arbitrary numbers based on how likely I think they are to happen. So let me see here. What color should we do? Orange? Let's do green. Yeah, no, lime green. There we go. Gunko update. I'm going to give this one a 40%. I'm going to lowball it because I feel like maybe it's too soon to see her. She just got thawed out of the ice cube, so maybe she's going to take a while to actually get here. Or hell, maybe she's going to be the cliffhanger. Maybe she'll end up being the person who shows up and helps Loki. We will see. The difference of the God Knight Sommers update, I'm going to give this one a 100%. I just can't imagine that Oda wouldn't give us an update of some kind when it comes to the God Knights and show us their powers. With how much of an emphasis he put on Omen last week, I do think we need to see more of it in action. Killingham beating Jinbei and Frankie. I think this could very well happen. Will it happen next chapter, though? Ooh, I don't know. Because there's so much on the plate right now, I'm gonna lowball this one at 20%. Like I said, I think this will happen eventually. It's just that 1181 is the main hurdle. So 20% for that one. Next up, Nidhogg's potential dash new Heim attack. I'll go high on this. Let's give it a good old 70%. You know, I do not think Loki's going to get one shot like Zoro or Sanji. So I do think this fight will last a while. And if it lasts a while, we will get more things from Imu as well as Loki. Someone helping Loki, I'm going to give this one a 90% chance. I'm pretty high on it. Again, you know, this would also count if, you know, somebody shows up at the end of the chapter, whether it's Hireden, Yarul, Luffy, Usopp, Gunko, whoever you're going to put in that box. If they show up at the end of the chapter, I will count that as a win. So because it's so broad, I am rating it pretty highly. No Luffy fighting. Ooh. I'm going to give it a 100. Yeah, I mean, last we saw, surprisingly, last chapter, Luffy was still eating food in his old man form. And, you know, it looks like Oda kind of wants to stall it out a little bit. So Luffy not joining in right away. Again, I think Oda's just really going to save Luffy for the end of the battle. So now, Imu attacks Loki and Loki drops Ragnar. This is very specific. Of course, saying that Imu attacks Loki, yeah, I would give that a 100. But saying that Loki drops Ragnar in the process, that's the dicey part. Because it's so specific, even though I enjoy this theory, I'm going to give this like a 35%. Again, I like it, but the likelihood of this happening exactly, I don't know. Loki's eyes and Luffy getting kidnapped, I'll give this 2 separate numbers here. Loki eyes, I enjoy this a good amount, but right now his eyes are still covered, right? Loki still has the bandages on, so he'll have to go hybrid form for us to see the eyes, or he'll have to go Nidhogg form again, or Imu has to slice off the bandages. So because there's that mini hurdle, I don't want to rate this too highly. I'd give it like a 60 though. You know, I do think the chance is there. I think out of everybody in the story, Imu is like the one guy that can really lay this in. Again, it's all a matter of will this happen next week? You know what? Let's go a little bit higher. You know, Oda does want to speed up the story. Let's say 75. 75 is pretty decent. Luffy getting kidnapped? I don't think so, man. I'm sorry. I don't want to be mean-spirited. So I'm not going to give this like a 0%. I'm not going to give it 1. I'll give it 5. I'll be nice. I'll give it 5%. Just Luffy getting kidnapped within one chapter? Nah, dude. Actually, one chapter is tough. Let's go 4%. Yeah. And even then, we don't even know if kidnapping Luffy is on the task list. Does Imu want to do that? If so, how is he going to do it? I don't believe he can simply bring Luffy back through the Abyss Circle because Luffy isn't marked. So, hey, let's go lower. Sorry. Yeah, 30%. I just don't feel super highly about Luffy getting kidnapped. I don't even agree with Robin being kidnapped, to be honest. But I would rate the Robin getting kidnapped higher than Luffy. Right now, if somebody had to get kidnapped, it's a character that's not on the island yet even, and I'd put that on Vivi. Because we know that Imu wants Vivi, so it's like, okay, yeah, Vivi shows up, Imu snatches her. You know, maybe he snatches Gunko again if she's rebelling. Or another character that could get kidnapped might even be Nami, right? Repeating the whole thing with Strong World and how Nami's a little bit special. But yeah, Luffy getting kidnapped out of everybody, I don't really see it. I think he'd rather just want to simply kill Luffy because he is Sun God Nika. Unless he does need Luffy for like the Mother Flame, but again, that hasn't really been touched on too much yet. Things could change though. Next up, hybrid form Loki. I'm gonna give this one a 100%. I think this is in the cards. I mean, dude, we've all been wondering what that hybrid form is gonna look like. We all have a pretty good idea, right? Half black dragon, he's gonna get the wings, he's gonna get the claws. We all have good ideas as to what this is gonna be like. So I'm gonna give it a 100%. You know, we can't wait that much longer, Oda. You know, Loki is fighting the strongest guy in the series currently. He's gonna need hybrid form at the bare minimum. Luffy joining. Of course, this goes against my no Luffy fighting one. Ooh, I don't hate it. I really don't hate it. I'll give this like a good old 80%. You know, even though this goes against like what I said earlier about Luffy not joining at all, I don't mind it. You know, Oda really could, again, speed up the whole fighting process. So even though it goes against my theory, this right here has a really high likelihood of happening. In fact, I might even go 90%, right? We'll go 90 on that one. But that is it for today, guys. Let me know your predictions down below. And of course, we will be revisiting the bingo sheet come next week. So stay tuned for that. And I'll see you guys in the next couple of days when the 1181 spoilers release. Take care, y'all. Peace out and stay safe.